So in this video, we are going to explore two powerful financial tools you can create right in Excel. Okay, a sinking fund and an amortization schedule. Whether you are managing debt, planning future expenses, or just sharpening your financial skills, we will walk you step by step through building both templates from scratch. Okay, let's get started. So before we begin, let me briefly compare two financial concepts you may be already be familiar with: the amortization and the sinking fund. In amortization, we make regular payments to pay off a debt or a loan. Okay? While in the sinking funds, we do the opposite. We make regular deposits to accumulate money for a future expense. Okay? So in short, amortization decreases balance over time, while a sinking fund increases a balance over time. Okay? So by the end of this tutorial, you should be able to explain what a sinking fund and amortization and how it works, compute the future value of sinking fund and the present value of an amortization using Excel formulas, then generate a complete sinking fund and amortization schedule. Okay, I will be discussing the concept of a sinking fund and demonstrating how it is computed and applied, especially using the Microsoft Excel. Okay, so what is a sinking fund? So a sinking fund is a systematic way of saving money by making regular deposits into an account that earns interest. Okay, so with the goal of accumulating a specific amount in the future. Organizations and even individuals use sinking funds to prepare financially for large future expenses like equipment upgrades, building repairs, or loan payments. Okay. So to understand sinking funds clearly, here are the key concepts. Okay, first is the contributions or the deposits. So these are the fixed amounts deposited regularly, okay, such as the monthly, quarterly, or annually into the account. Okay, next is the interest. The money deposited earns interest based on a fixed rate. And lastly, the future value. This refers to the total accumulated amount in the sinking fund at the end of the period. So let us now consider an example of a sinking fund problem using ordinary simple annuity. Okay, so mo ni ang problem. So pag ma-analyze na nimo ni nga problem, mo ni iyahang given. Okay? So let's try to compute it using Excel. To compute the future value of the sinking fund in Excel, we can use the built-in FV function. Okay? The reason we use the FV formula is because sinking funds grow through compound interest. Okay? So instead of adding 27,518 times, Excel calculates how each deposits grow over time, no? Not just the sum but the accumulated value. Okay? So first is to label the rows, okay? We have the FV or the future value or sa ito ang formula S sub n, okay? Next is the present value or the A sub n, okay? And per or the value of payment periods or the N, and rate or the interest rate period or the I, okay? And lastly, the PMT or the regular payment amount or ato ang R, okay? Now we should input the values from the given problem earlier. Okay. Now since we have no present value given, we will put the PV 0. Okay. Then the N per 18, then the rate 0.009, and the PMT, which is the 27,500 pesos. Okay. Next is to calculate the FV. Okay. First is to input equal sign. So anong mag-equal sign ta? It is to tell Excel that we are using a formula. Okay. Then FV, then open parentheses. Okay. Then na siya guide dere. So ato lang ni sundon, pero dili na to i-click ang words. So instead i-click na to ang values ani nila. Okay, first is ang rate, then ang N per, then negative PMT. Okay? So nganong nag-negative ta diri? So nganong nag-negative ta sa PMT, no? Because deposits and sinking funds are considered cash outflow, no? Murag ni gawas siya sa company. Okay? Then comma PV, and then the type. Since we are using ordinary simple annuity, okay, it is at the end, no? So 0. Okay? And then enter. Okay. Next is to create a sinking fund schedule. Okay. First, we have to label the columns. Okay. First, we have the period. Okay. Then the second is the beginning or the balance. Next is ang PMT. Okay. Next is the interest. Then the increase in fund. And then the outstanding amount. Okay. So let's input first the period. Okay. Magbutang ng tag 1 and 2 sa duha ka rows. Okay. And then highlight and then drag. Okay. Hangtod sa imuhang N, which in this case 18. Since this is a sinking funds, so the balance increases over time. So mag-start yun ta sa 0. Okay? Next is ang PMT. Okay? First is i-copy lang na to ang value sa PMT. Okay? So first, i-put equal sign. Okay? So importante ang equal sign kay again, it is to tell Excel that this is a formula, not just a text. No? So when you copy the value of another cell, you are actually making a formula that links one cell to another. Okay? So sa PMT. Then the interest, okay, equal sign, the beginning balance multiplied by the rate. Okay? Next is an increase in funds, the PMT, okay, added by the interest. Okay? Next is ang outstanding amount, okay? Si beginning balance added by the increase in fund. Okay? So ang ato ang outstanding amount karon is the new beginning balance sa ato ang second period. Okay? So i-copy lang gyapon na to. Then ang PMT. Okay? So copy lang gyapon nimo sa PMT, but this time we must lock it. So we can do that by putting a dollar sign, okay? Here, okay? And then here. Okay? Next is ang interest, okay? Same ra gihapon, the beginning balance multiplied by the rate. So, and then again, ilak na to si rate, okay? So, we must put the dollar sign here and then here. Next is ang increase in fund, okay? The PMT added by the interest, okay? Next is ang outstanding amount, which is the beginning balance plus the increase in fund, okay? And then after ana, you need to highlight the second row, okay? Highlight the second row. And then ato sa corner, i-drag mo ang corner hangtod sa 18th period. At voila. Okay? So the total outstanding balance must be equal to the future value sa na atong i-compute ganiha. Okay? So makaingon ka nga tama imuhang nasod. Okay? And there you have it. So next is ang amortization, which would be discussed by my partner, Francis Ebi Rosiana.
So thank you, Mr. Ivan. And let us continue on explaining the amortization and amortization schedule. Let us proceed. What is an amortization? Amortization is the process of paying off a loan or mortgage over time through regular and scheduled payments. So it means a process of paying. And when we say sinking funds, it is the accumulation of money. So that is the difference between amortization and sinking funds. And amortization schedule. Amortization schedule is a table or chart that shows number one, each payment of the loan. Number two, how much a payment goes to interest. And number three is how much goes to the principal. And the last one is the remaining balance after each payment. And proceed. Practice problem. A loan of 8 semi-annually payments of 4,200 at the beginning of every 6 months by Mr. Tony Stark, money at 9% compounded semi-annually for 4 years. Now the question is, what is the present value of the loan and construct an amortization schedule? And these are the given values and variables. So, the amortization schedule and even the sinking funds is usually an ordinary simple annuity. But in this case, the problem says at the beginning of every 6 months. The keyword is at the beginning. So it means it is an annuity due. So we are going to use the formula for the present value of annuity due and substitute the values or the given values, and the result is 28,949.34 pesos. And we will use this value or this present value as our beginning balance of our amortization schedule. And let us construct the amortization schedule and let us proceed at the Excel. So welcome back at the Excel where we are going to construct the amortization schedule. At first, if you are going to construct an amortization schedule, I do suggest to put these labels first and then let us fill with values. So since we are finding for the present value, so the future value is equal to 0 basically. And the n per is equal to our n, that was 8, and our rate that was I 0.045, and our periodic payment or this is the PMT, that is 4,200. And then we can actually solve the present value of an amortization schedule without using the formula by just plugging it here at the Excel using Excel's formula, of course. So that is equal sign and PV, open parenthesis. We can see rate So you have to click the cell where the rate is, and then the NPER. Next, the PMT. Since we are paying a loan, we have to put a negative sign on before the payment. And then next, future value, we're gonna put 0 and 1 because it is an annuity due. If it was a ordinary simple annuity, we have to put 0. But since it's annuity due, it is 1. Close parenthesis and equal sign. And this value is equal to our value we recently solved. We are going to use this one as our beginning balance. So equal sign and then this cell equal. And for our payment, that is the periodic payment, 4,200. And for the principal paid, okay, the principal paid is the sum of this payment plus interest. But since in this period we don't have an interest yet, so it is payment plus zero interest, it will be equal to the payment. That is just payment. And then the balance after the payment is basically the beginning balance minus the principal, and that's the value. And this value, 24,749.34 pesos, mao ni ang value nga kuhaan na tog interest. So, the interest is equal to the balance of after the payment multiplied by our rate, 0.045, and that is 1,113.72. And for our end balance, it is basically the balance after the payment plus interest. So remember, end balance is equal to the sum of the balance after the payment plus interest. And this end balance will eventually will become our new beginning balance. Okay. And then our payment. So to lock our payment, we have to put a dollar sign as what Ivan have explained earlier to lock its column and rows. Similar to our principal paid, we have to lock this one. And then the balance after the payment is basically again the difference between the beginning balance and your principal. So here's our new balance after the payment. And for our new interest, it is basically the balance after the payment multiplied by our rate. But this time, to lock the rate and constantly put this interest on the following cells, we gotta lock this with the dollar sign. Again, explained. It is already explained by Ivan earlier. And then the end balance is the sum of the balance after the payment and the interest. So that's it. So in order to make our lives easier and calculate this one easily, we can use Excel. And that is the purpose of putting the dollar sign on our values. So the interest, the payment, and the principal are constantly not changing. And then if we drag this one, it will solve itself until it becomes zero. That's the point of amortization. The value should be equal to zero. It means we already have paid all of our balances. And that is how to build an amortization schedule using Excel. So just always remember when it is a amortization schedule, it should be a zero at the ending. And if it is a sinking fund, it should be the value here from zero to the value here. It's either the present value or the future value. And by solving this, there's actually a difference between a ordinary simple annuity and annuity due. And this example is an annuity due. So I do encourage you guys to try and solve an amortization schedule for annuity due or the present value of annuity due on our reference. and using these Excel techniques. And I hope you like it. And that's all. Thank you.